Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and today I got a really fun video. I don't remember if you guys remember the Hall Effect board that it did that had a quite the controversial name because of how it's pronounced. It's from Luminkey. It's the Magger68 HE Ultra. Luminkey sent me this out to try their newest version. It is the Ultra version, so we're gonna have to go straight into the unboxing, see what the board is like, is it any better, and compare it with the other Hall Effect boards out there. So let's go straight into the unboxing, and please make sure to like and subscribe. Now, starting off with the unboxing of the Luminkey 68 HE Ultra. Now, I said it in the intro, but I don't think I'm gonna try to say it again, just because the name can be mispronounced, and honestly, I think it would have been nice if they tried to rename it, but maybe this is all their marketing point in the first place, and this is what they wanted. Now, thank you again, Luminkey, for sending me out the new one. This is the Ultra version. They also have a Plus version, and of course, we're going to take a look inside the box. So now we have a switch puller, keycap puller, a nice braided cable actually, but only one extra switch. Now, I wonder why they only provided one. Usually they provide three, but this time around, it's just the one. Now, as you can see here, we have the manual, which has some shortcuts that we can take a look at. And as you can see here, it does have like a Mac mode and a Windows mode. So it's supposed to work with both. And of course, we're going to have to take a look at the actual board itself. But let me put away the box, and then we're going to open up this keyboard. Now, it is coming in a plastic wrap. I'm going to be honest, for comparing it to like the whole unboxing with like the box and how it felt, the plastic kind of made it feel cheaper. Going to be honest with that. Like, I think that if they kept it with a little bit nicer of a wrap, or maybe even like a cloth, it would have been much nicer and a more premium feel in terms of the unboxing experience. This is just maybe an opinion of mine for the future if they are planning to change it. Now, of course, we have to weigh the board before we do a sound test, and it weighs 1.1 kilo. So of course we did the sound test, and now we're going to have to take a look at the board itself. So first, let's remove some keycaps and take a look to see, does this have a flex cut or not? A lot of these companies nowadays are really a big fan of flex cuts. This one is not, which is nice. I would say most Hall Effect boards are not usually flex cut, and mechanical boards are, but you never know. We got to check to see, just to see if they did it or not. So there's 8 screws that have to be removed. It's about a 1.5 size, I believe, in terms of a hexagonal. So I removed it. And now let's measure the sides to see the top case, how thick it is. So it's about 1.6 millimeters, I would say. So a total of 1.6 in terms of the thickness of the top casing. It is a really nice build, honestly. Like, I think what they did was amazing. The PCB is actually connected to the USB port, so it's all into one. So it's not actually connected with a cable and anything. I just had to take it off after opening it up, which is really nice. So this is one of the changes they made, right? It's a silicone inside the middle. Really does help with the dampening, I think. They did a really great job with this board, honestly. I was quite surprised. And even bigger surprise, the plate is 1.6 millimeters. So they didn't just do a non-flex cut, they did 1.6. I can't believe they did that, and I'm so excited, especially with the PCB too. Both are 1.6, and thank you, Luminkey, for actually doing that, because a lot of these companies are doing 1.2. Really nice to see 1.6. Now, it is a steel plate, and it also comes with a plate-mounted stabilizer. Now, I don't know if you guys can really see it. Unfortunately, my lighting wasn't amazing here. It does come pre-lubed, though if you heard the sound test, you could hear that there was a lot of tinging in terms of the stabilizers. Not great.
Even though it comes pre-lubed, it seems like the lube is really, really thin instead of being a little bit thicker, which is unfortunate. Now you do get the silicone on the bottom so you can see, and of course we got to mod it. Now we're going to be modding this with a 2-layer tape mod. I think adding the 2 layers might make the sound a lot better, but we'll see. Of course, we're going to have to put it all back together now that we did the 2 layers. Really have to kind of match it up carefully because it was a bit hard. Now, one of the things I did want to fix is the spacebar. I think the spacebar has this really hollow sound to it, so I'm going to add 2 layers of tape inside. And then after I add the 2 layers of tape, I'm going to use my the Krytox syringe just to add some lube inside the stabilizers because it really did have a bad ting in there. I wasn't a big fan of it. So as you can see there, I have it like that. I'll link it in the description for you guys to be able to easily find it from Amazon. And then of course, we're going to do a modded sound test.
Now, we did the unboxing, we've done the teardown and everything. In terms of the switches, in terms of the sound profile, so comparing it with the previous version, I think this one sounds a lot better, a lot more dampening though. You will actually notice quite a bit that there's a lot of muting inside this board compared to, say, the previous board, which I have provided like a comparison sound test from the previous one. This one, in terms of the design, I love it, but the front is pretty much identical. There's no difference. The only difference will be the back of the board. So if you look at the back, you can see how it has this really nice, cool design in there now. Otherwise, there's no difference in terms of the design aspect of the board. The switches, I honestly wish that they did something new with the switches. It would have been nice to see like a newer switch. The Jade Pros are fine switches, but they just have a bit of like the scratchiness to it in terms of like Hall effect wise. And some Hall effect switches had this like way back. This one definitely has that scratchiness to it. I would have really loved to see them try something new, a different switch. It would have been really cool to see with this board. But of course, we're going to have to go into an in-depth review of this board in terms of like gaming, software, taking a look, and even comparing with other boards out there. So let's go straight into that.
So going in more in depth with the board itself, so as you can see here, this is what has been changed in terms of the design. So if you look at the back of the board, it no longer has that like goldish like design on the back. You can see here it actually says Luminkey HE, and you can see it has the name on there and it says Ultra on there because this is the Ultra version that I have. And I think it's a much cleaner design. I think I really appreciate the difference that they made in this. The CNC is super smooth on this board. They did a great job of making a really, really nice case. I was quite impressed with what they were doing with the whole build. I think that Luminkey really is one of the companies that, even though it's like a Chinese company out there, it has a really, really impressive build quality. The sound also in this board actually sounds really nice. I was quite impressed that even after I lubed the switches, it felt much better. The only thing is though, is that I think the Gateron Jade Pro switches are not the best switches out there. It's not even in my top 5 anymore. I feel like it has a scratchiness to it that I'm not a big fan of. And it's okay for gaming, right? It does everything you need it to do. It's Hall effect. It has like the perfect like precision that you're requiring from a Hall effect switch. But the only thing is, I do find that it gets scratchy. It is kind of an old switch, has a little bit of stemmable as well. It's not the greatest for typing in terms of for like if you were using for typing and stuff, it's okay. You would have to lube your switches, really kind of mod up this board. If you're going to use it for typing, it's just, I'm not a big fan of typing on this for like regular use. It has a bit of that Hall effect switch sound, which is not a great sound to have, especially if you've tried really nice mechanical keyboards. I would say for gaming though, this thing works really well. You know, I was able to really enjoy it with the games that we're playing. And as you can see here, this is the Gateron Jade Pro Switch. I really would have loved to see, you know, Luminkey really trying a new switch, right? Gateron's released a lot more new ones. It would have been nice to see Luminkey really bring out something new. Now, don't mind my hands. I know it has like not looking great. I had an allergic reaction like a couple weeks ago, and then for some reason the eczema ended up becoming like that on my hands. So don't mind that. Now, of course, we're gonna have to do a backlighting test on this switch and the board. So taking a look, you can see how dark it is. Now, I have the brightness up to max, right? So the brightness on this board right now is at max, but for some reason, I can't really see the lighting in terms of the camera. Now I can see it with my eyes, but it's still pretty dim even for my eyes in person. Now, please keep in mind for yourselves that compared to a camera, the eye is gonna have a much better like catching of the light, while the camera is gonna have a little bit more of a harder time. But as you can see here, the lighting from like above the north side is better, but it's still really, really dark. And also keep in mind the Jade Pro switches do not have a good lighting in terms of like accuracy. It is going to be more greenish. Now, as you can see here, this is the Ultra, so it comes in 3 different colors, and then you have the Plus. So I personally love the Champagne Gold. I think that's the one to go with. Super clean, love the color, love the design. I would love to have an actual mechanical keyboard of this. It would be super nice to use it as a case. Now, as you can see here, it's 8K. It's got 40K scan rate, and it's supposed to be 0.08 milliseconds latency. Now, I don't know how they did that. See, 8K is only supposed to be 0.125. I'm not sure how they did 0.08. It doesn't really make sense for me. Unfortunately, I don't actually have the like tools to be able to measure it and be able to see if it is at 0.08, but you can see the comparisons with the old Magger Pro with the new one. Now, the Ultra, as you can see, goes all to 0.005 millimeters in terms of accuracy, in terms of where you can set the sensitivity, while the Pro, like the previous Pro, was only 0.02. You get the 0.08. It's crazy what they're saying that they were able to do. Like the Plus and the Ultra both have that. It's just the switches that are the difference mostly. The white Max switch, the white one is, I'm not too sure if it's like the old white switch that they had from Gateron, which weren't really good switches. They were actually really horrible ones. I think it might be new, and if it is, it might be better, but I know the old ones were not great. Now, hopefully that one is a better one. I'm not too sure. I actually got the J Pro one, it's the Ultra. So this is the actual web app. Now, the web app design looks pretty simple, but it is quite effective. You do get all the points that you're needing. As you can see, there has like the release distance, the press distance. You have a lot of choices to be able to make the different choices here in the performance side. So you can click on this one you want, and you can actually move the actuation as the way you want it to. Right there it has the 0.01. You can also turn on continuous quick trigger. I would probably turn that off if you are someone that needs to hold down a key, especially if like it's a specific game that requires holding it to do something. It really does affect it a lot. It's not great. Now, as you can see, it was like click on each one, you can actually make the differences. You can see this is actually my settings for Apex Legends, and also you have like the trigger effect there, so you can kind of see what switches you're using and make the choices to click. Right now it only has the 2 that are, I believe, calibrated correctly. I'm not sure if they will have new ones in the future that'll calibrate. Hopefully they do, and allow you to actually mount this board with different switches. It'd be nice to see. I would love to try like something that's nicer, right? Like a Gianra HE or like a Allabs T. Now, as you can see here, if you go into accuracy right there, you can actually change it to the 0.005, which is really insane. I'm not like sure how they did that. To get it to that low of a point is quite impressive, I have to admit. Now, I wasn't sure what was going on there for a second, but I remember that you actually have to click on a key to make the changes that you need. So as you can see there, you can actually set it up, turn off continuous rapid trigger. Also, one thing to note, you actually have to set up those press and release sensitivities. If you do not, and you keep it at where it is at like the really low point, like super high sense for it, it will affect it. The 0.005 kind of is actually true, and what I mean by that is in Apex Legends you have to press E and hold it to revive someone. If I'm holding E, it actually releases itself because maybe I've actually slightly let go. So it's super, super sensitive. Like this board is incredibly sensitive for that. Now you do have key remapping works really well. You have the function layers, very simple. One thing I did note, you cannot change profiles. I'm not sure why. They have the profiles in there on the left. You can rename them, but I cannot click them and set them up. Please, Luminkey, make an update to fix this. Profiles are needed. If you don't have different profiles and you actually are using a typing profile and a gaming profile, but everything's on gaming, it really is not great. You really will have a hard time being able to type, right? Like that means you have to change settings every time you want to type, which is horrible. So please, Luminkey, fix that. It's super important. Now, this is the lighting settings, so you can change some lighting there. It has actually a demo for you to see it. You can change the macros, as you can see there. You have tick rate, you can change anti-shake level, return rate, so you have the 8K, 4K, really nice to see. And of course, going into Keyboard Inspector, we can kind of test to see what we're looking at here. So it's supposed to be 8K. Due to the scan rate, it's not going to be perfect in terms of what it's showing in terms of the numbers, but we should be getting the 8K perfectly on this board. Now, of course, at 0.008, or as I said for milliseconds, which is kind of crazy, right? Because 0.125 is for 8K. Now, this is Apex Legends, where using a Hall effect board is quite effective. Of course, there's other games out there that it is quite effective, right? Like there's people that play Valorant, CSGO that use like the snap tap and stuff. But Apex Legends, it really does affect more than just that. As you can see here, there's specific movement tech called super gliding that really would benefit from a Hall effect board. And the reason being is it really has to be frame perfect of what you're pressing. And there's going to be even more movement tech out there that's coming out. I believe there's another one called like instant glide. I don't know how to do it yet. I'm going to have to learn. I might even need to do macros. So maybe I'll learn how to do macros through that. But as you can see here, like Hall effect boards work really well for Apex because of the frame perfect movements that you have to do. And one thing that I personally love about the Hall effect boards is that you can set it up to actually really see what you're looking at doing. Super Glide Trainer really will help you if you are someone who plays Apex Legends and is getting a Hall effect board, not exactly sure how you set it up for super gliding. Go onto Super Glide Trainer and then test it yourself. See what you need to change to be able to get that frame perfect super glide. I really appreciate how Hall effect boards do, and the Magger actually was pretty good. And please do not clip any of my pronunciations in terms of mentioning this board. Now, the board itself is actually very, very sensitive. Like it's incredibly sensitive, where I'm having to make sure that I'm like keeping my sensitivity a little bit on the higher side. But as you can see here, this is another thing that Hall effect boards can really do and help with, is resetting recoil. So in Apex Legends, recoil is possible to reset through movement. If you spam AD super fast enough, it slightly resets it to making a recoil a lot easier to control. So really appreciating the board itself. I think that it was quite comfortable to game with, though it is a little bit on the lower profile side, so keep that in mind for yourselves. If you are someone who likes a little bit of a higher profile, the Magger is actually a little bit on the lower profile. Now, here is where I'm going to actually test out how to do rappy, like snappy tappy, rap, and then I forgot what the other one they called it, sorry. But right now, this is just normal. When you press AD, so if you hold A and then press D, it just stops movement. Like you will completely stop movement. So you actually have to press AD. The rappy snappy version, it also actually requires you to do the same thing. So I'm kind of confused why. It's kind of pretty much acting like nothing, right? But snappy tappy is a little bit different here. You can hold A and then press D. It'll actually still move D. This kind of would actually help in terms of your strafing in shooting games, but keep in mind that if you are going to use that, you need to really perfectly time your shots in between that stop, right? Like that braking moment, you have to really time it to click your shots perfectly. I'm not good at it. I can't do it, right? I'm not used to this game, so obviously it's going to be harder for me. But as you can see here, I'm missing my shots a lot, but it would be helpful because you can do a little bit of a longer strafe that will help in game. Now, this is me playing an actual game of Apex Legends and what I've thought about the board itself while using it. So when I land, picking up items was quick. Though, to be fair, but that's one of the benefits and advantages you get using a Hall effect board. The thing is, if you actually are in game, it's still really ping related. So whoever has the better ping is actually going to get that big advantage. So even though you have a Hall effect board, does not mean you will win every single time off drop picking up items. Now, using skills, jumping around, all those things actually works really well. Like my strafing with the board was really, really nice. So you saw right there, that was a super quick armor swap. Like that's one of the benefits, is that you can actually be able to open up boxes much faster. Of course, you're going to practice your mouse movements, but that's a different story. I would have issues before, quickly doing armor swaps. I was very slow, right? The first holofic board I had was a Wu-Ting. That really helped me learn and get quicker with it. And nice thing is the more and more Apex has gotten like older, the more movement characters became a thing, and using skills became a thing. So I could actually do a little bit more things to like really go around and do things that I couldn't have done before easily with mechanical boards. Sometimes with mechanical boards, I notice that I find myself a little bit more on the stiffer side, and this allows me to be a little bit smoother in terms of my movement, especially strafing. Now, this is all the holofic boards that I've had on my channel. So as you can see here, the Luminkey Ultra is going to be the main board we're talking about today. As you see, it's holofic. All of them are holofic. It's hot swappable. It's 65% layout. It is an aluminum case. It is wired. And one of the things is that compared to the older one, which we did before, right? We got to see the differences. It's not too different, right? But you're getting like the actual more in-depth details in terms of like the latency and such. And the app itself is quite different as well, because you have a software and you have a web app. The pricing is also quite different, right? So the plus version is going to be the 140, while the 169, so about $107, is the Ultra. 107 is quite pricey. I'm going to be honest. It is quite pricey, right? The Slice 75, which is a really nice board, really well built, was 155. So 150. I want to say 155. 150. And then you have the like Wu-Ting at 200. Right? You are looking at this board and it's going to be like, wow, why is this so pricey? Especially when you're looking at, other competitors out there that are bigger companies, right? Wu-Ting is one of the holofic companies out there, and it's almost as much as that. The thing is I feel like the Luminkey at 65%, it's a very different layout. So it's a much smaller board, allowing you to have more space on your desk. And the build quality of the board is quite insane. I would say that what they did with the PCB, right, saying that if it's true, if you are getting 0.08, this thing does beat out all the other competition. If it does. Now, the previous version, the Pro version, it's leaning towards, like the Chilkey price, the Magger68 Pro price, and then you also have like the new Skylung one. I think the Luminkey Ultra really has kind of pushed that price range. I'm not sure if it's due to say tariffs and other things like that. It is quite expensive. I think the $140 range is a really, really more reasonable range, especially considering the competition, especially considering the high end of holofic boards out there, right? With the software, with the teams that are backing it. The Ultra is quite well built, and I would say the cost of materials in the board itself is most likely going to be the reason why it's so expensive. The web app, I do personally like it. I think they did a great job with it, except for the profiles, but it does kind of give me a similar feel to what the Chilkey's web app was like. They are very similar, except the Chilkey did have the different profile settings, while the Ultra does not. I do really like the Chilkey. I think, if you compare it with some of the other boards out there, right, that are much more budget, right? We have the Mechland, Skylung, Epplemaker, Ueden, M-Chose. It's hard to really justify, right? How can you justify spending $150 or $170? It really will come down to is, do you want that premium build that's going to last you longer, right? With the premium case and a much nicer feel. It really comes down to your personal preference on it. Do you want to spend that kind of money, right? One of the things is that you can get a cheap board, and most likely it might last you a similar amount of time. It just comes down to is, are you wanting that premium feel on a board? I truly think that the premium feel of this board is good, but I cannot justify to you that the pricing is right. That's a personal thing for me, and that's just because I'm considering all of the boards that are currently on the market, premium feel is great, right? The Wu-Ting technically costs a lot more, right? When you get into the case and like changing everything, it is really expensive. I think Wu-Ting is super expensive, but they back it up with the software and the support. Luminkey, I don't know if they will do the same. I think Luminkey is making a difference though in terms of how they're trying to brand their company, and what they're doing is they're not really making budget cheap stuff, but they're trying to make more like into the mid-range to the high range of like different boards out there, and trying to provide that kind of good software as well. But right now in current standing, I would say that it's hard to justify the exact price. Skylung's board did a great job. To be fair though, the web app on Skylung's wasn't as great. It's nice that they have two different profiles available through a hard button, right? It's a switch actually, but it's more important to have it in the software. And I think Luminkey also will require that as well, is to add that into the software, really improve it. Then I think this board can stand really strong against competition, especially if what they said with the 0.08 milliseconds is true. Then in terms of high level competition, you are looking at something that is actually out competing even a Wu-Ting. I don't know if it is, and I'm sorry guys, I don't have the tools to test it, but if you are looking for a premium build at a high level of competition, you can definitely look at this board, especially if you're comparing like this one to say some other of the 65% out there that I've tried, like the Magger68. This is definitely much higher and better compared to the Skylung. I would say the Luminkey does have a little bit more to it, especially with this web app and in terms of the hardware as well. So I'll have the links in the description that you can check it out and see for yourself.
Now, overall, we have to admit that Luminkey makes some really nice boards, really high quality boards out there. I would say material wise in the feel, like if I was to compare this with say some of the ones that are out there right now, the Wu-Ting board is great, right? Everyone knows Wu-Ting's good for the software. The build quality, I'm gonna be honest with the cases, like the zinc case was really nicely done, but it's still not, doesn't feel as high quality and top notch as say like this Luminkey, what they've done here. And specifically, I'm going to be comparing this one with like the Lumaz case that they did. It doesn't feel as top notch. The Optimum case though, it does feel really, really premium. It has a really nice build to it. If I were to compare the two though, I think this one is just a little bit nicer in terms of the whole build quality and like the color design of this case. I really like this one for what Luminkey did. I'm not really pronouncing the name of the board just because I know that there's a chance that I might mispronounce it and it's going to be very bad. So I don't want to get canceled. I'll have the links in the description. Go check it out. And please, go check out the other videos I got, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.